guys, I'm so excited for the both of you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Loved watching this series. I want to start off talking about both your characters, Raj and Mir, and what
Sure.
do these characters allow the both of you to explore outside of who you really are? What was different?
For me, it allowed me to explore kind of a thing that I think only oldest siblings deal with, which is like coming to terms with like, how do I handle this family? How do we keep things in order? Um, how do we deal with things like legacy or dealing with like the passing? I feel like older siblings are just like they just have like this inherent like time is heavy on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And legacy and keeping a family together and all these things that
being the glue.
yeah, little brother, we're just like,
Yeah.
show up to the thing. It's no big deal.
They'll handle it. Yeah.
And so they just have like a weight of responsibility. That's the word I'm looking for. They have a weight of responsibility on them that I think this character allowed me to kind of explore more of like whether or not he actually has this responsibility, he puts it upon himself. He feels like he's holding this whole family together and is kind of carrying that through the show. And throughout the show, he's dealing with what parts of it he's keeping and what parts of it that he's shedding.
And I had the actually complete opposite experience where Raj, like allowed me to really lean into being more carefree
Right.
and
Yeah.
just like stop, putting such high value in things that aren't going to be as important to me
Totally.
tomorrow as they are
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing matters.
Yes.
Nothing matters. This thing feels so important, but we're all going to die.
Yeah.
So nothing matters.
And my character's like, we're gonna live for quite a few
Yeah.
years after this.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking on being that carefree part, because as someone who is an energy healer, I have to ask you, Saagar, what was
Sure.
something that you learned from that part of this character? Because I mean, they brought in some great stuff, I think, through the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with Prairie and all that.
Yes, and the chakras and all of that. I thought that was such a fun element that was added to this character.
I had never been really introduced to that world before. And Alfie, knew a little bit about it, and so did
Yeah.
Zayn, who plays Bushra.
Yeah.
And
They're tapped in.
yeah, and now at home, I don't remember what they're called, but the stick that
The
you just
Palo
had,
Santo?
Palo Santo,
Palo
yeah,
Santo.
yeah, Palo Santo. My wife bought a bunch of him, and
It's a vibe.
it really is a vibe. And we
Mhm.
have like incense now, and yeah, it just makes the place feel nice and clean
Yeah.
and good, just good vibes all around.
Good vibes. Good vibes. And that's what it was like on set. It was good vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, even in watching all the publicity things, you guys seem to have so much fun. I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
talk a little bit about the stereotypes. As both of you have been in this industry, we see so
Sure.
much that happens right around South Asian content.
Yeah.
How do you think Deli Boys is pushing past the cultural stereotypes, especially when it comes to South Asians and Pakistani Americans?
I think it's normalizing hot people, for a long time. I'm kidding. I think
I was like, yeah.
no, but I do think this idea of the model minority thing of like it's perfect people doing perfect things and everything's perfect and we're just off into the side as like a side character of a thing. I think what this show allows and hopefully is a conduit to more things like this is an exploration into three-dimensional characters who have good parts of them and bad parts of them and faults and insecurities and confidences and like it just allows for more of a human picture of people who are South Asian that I think we don't get to see that often, and I think it's an important thing for people to see. Communities that are often relegated to you're just the guy working in the lab or the computer guy, to be like, no, if you actually zoomed in on that guy in the lab, he might have like
Depth.
a complex life that you're just leaving on the table. So to do it through this show and through this kind of insane comedy, I think is like a really, really unique, special thing that was so fun to be on.
Yeah, we're not used to playing fully dimensional characters, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier, and most of the time when we read a script, we are looking for the supporting characters that we have historically been able to see ourselves in.
Totally. Yeah.
And now when we read this script, like he can see himself as this fully fleshed out character.
Yeah.
I can see myself as Raj, this fully, big, larger than life character. And it just allowed us to play with a lot more that we wouldn't have been able to play with before outside of the stereotypes. Yeah, they are a gas station family or a convenience store family. And that's a real thing. And that's fine. That's the one thing. I'm from a convenience store family, born and raised. And so it that hit home for me. But so does so much else. The small nuances, the normalcy,
squatting,
the normalcy of their life is very similar to the normalcy of mine, right? Like we are actual human beings that have thoughts and have heartbreaks and have fun and get sad sometimes.
Yeah. And it's also fun to like, if this is a very unique thing, and oftentimes, people like us are all vying for one job.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So to be on a cast where it's all South Asian people, it's just like such a special thing.
Very special.
And like you said, we got to see more to these characters just versus just the one dimension. I have to this because I have to wrap up in a second, but being especially Desi, you said it hit home. There's that theme of making Baba proud. There's a theme of like standing and like carrying on his legacy. For both of you, do you feel that are you still grappling with that in life, or do you feel like, no, I've done it, like I've made my dad proud, I've made Baba proud?
Ask me again on March 6th. I'll have a different answer.
Weeks after the release, when the numbers come in. I think for me, I think also what this experience of this show has allowed, and therapy in general, honestly, is like, we are raised having this relationship with our parents where they themselves have to be this perfect representation of someone. So you feel like, oh, did I even really know the full scope of this person that was raising me? And so
I got to tell you, I know nothing about my dad before.
You got to ask him. You have to
I've tried thousands of times. I've asked his childhood friends, and they're like, oh, you got to go ask your dad. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Oh, crap. He might be like our dad on the show.
I don't know, man.
But I think for me, it was just like normalizing that, hey, this guy came to this country and was just trying his best and, trying to make a life and trying to provide and do the best they can. And, we're all limited by our own experiences and our own lives. And, he has the expectations of his parents that he's living up to and feeling like, did he even achieve those or did he not kind of thing. So like we all have these worlds that we're living in. And I do feel deep down that, ultimately they, it's kind of a cliche thing, but they just want you to be happy and that you can feed yourself and take care of yourself. And thankfully we're both able to do that. So I think in the grand scheme of things, I don't think parents ever stop worrying. I don't have kids, but I feel like every parent is just like worried about their kids until they die. And so having a thing where they're like, oh, okay, he's okay. Like for me, like doing stand-up and acting, and I'm sure the same with you, like they're probably freaking out. Like, how's he going to feed himself? He's going to be homeless. I didn't come all the way to this country to have a kid that ends up homeless. This is not the plan. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So to see you working and being on billboards and stuff like that, I'm sure even if they don't outwardly say it, they're like, he's good.
Yeah.
And also all of their friends tell them. Like my mom, when she was still working at a hospital, like if I would be on things, even if it was a commercial, her friends would be like, oh, I saw your son in a commercial. And she'd be like,
yeah, big Hollywood star.
Yeah. And she'd be like, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
But thank you. Congratulations. And you've made
Thank you so much.
so many of us Desis proud. And